Every shelter worker knows the exact moment. The papers are signed, the dog is led to a kennel, and the chain-link door clicks shut. The dog doesn't turn around to explore the new space. It doesn't sniff the blanket or investigate the food bowl. It turns directly back to the door, and it stares. Most people who walk past that kennel look away quickly, because somewhere in that image is a question we don't want to fully face. Does the dog know what just happened to it? Not in the human narrative sense, but in the deeper, more unsettling sense. Does it recognize that the specific person who meant everything to it has chosen never to come back? And if it does, what is actually happening inside it while it waits? By the end of this video, I want to tell you about a specific dog, a 4-year-old hound mix named Gus at a shelter in Ohio. He surrendered 3 months ago, and what researchers discovered about what is happening inside him while he watches that door completely redefines what we thought we knew about how animals heal from the deepest loss they can experience. But to understand how they rebuild, we first have to understand what they built in the first place, and what it means when someone tears it down. Dogs do not love humans abstractly. They love specific humans. Specifically, with a specificity that neuroscientists can now measure inside a brain scanner. In landmark fMRI studies at Emory University, dogs were presented with the sense of strangers, familiar people, and their primary caregiver. The caudate nucleus, the brain's reward and emotional anticipation center, fired with a categorical intensity for the primary caregiver that wasn't replicated by anyone else, not even close. The dog's brain doesn't just respond more strongly to its person. It builds a unique neural-level architecture dedicated specifically to one particular individual, a biological structure assembled over months and years of daily proximity, routine, and attachment. In human psychological literature, the closest analogy to this bond isn't friendship. It isn't even a romance. It is the exact hormonal loop shared between a parent and a child. Same oxytocin release during eye contact, same proximity-seeking behaviors, same acute distress at separation, same neurological relief at reunion. Which means when a dog is surrendered, they aren't just missing a companion. They are experiencing the sudden, unexplained disappearance of the only parental structure they have ever known. The person their brain was specifically, architecturally, biologically built to love. And when that structure vanishes without warning, without explanation, without the ability to understand why, the body does exactly what a body is designed to do when the most important thing in its world disappears. It goes into an emergency. Within the first hours of shelter intake, a dog's cortisol levels spike dramatically. Researchers at the University of Montana found these levels are consistent with what humans experience during acute traumatic grief. Not the stress of a thunderstorm, not the anxiety of a vet visit, traumatic grief. This is fundamentally different from you leaving for work. When you leave for the day, the stress is buffered by predictability. The dog tracks your keys, your routine, the sound of your car. It knows the pattern. The pattern has always been resolved. When a dog is surrendered, predictability is destroyed. There are no more keys, no more routine, no car sound that precedes the door opening. This triggers what behaviorists call an extinction burst, a sudden, frantic spike in searching behavior, continuous whining, total refusal to eat. The nervous system is running at absolute maximum capacity, desperately trying to trigger a return cue that is never going to come. Around day 3, this behavior abruptly tapers off, but it isn't recovery. It is the chemical onset of learned helplessness. The body simply runs out of adrenaline and shuts down. So here is the question science tries hardest to answer. Does the dog actually understand that this absence is permanent? To answer that, we need to look at cognitive architecture. Dogs possess excellent object permanence. They know you still exist when you walk out of sight. The mental representation of you doesn't dissolve when you leave the room. But permanence is not the same as understanding abandonment. Abandonment requires something more sophisticated, something researchers call theory of mind, the ability to conceptualize another being's long-term internal intentions. A dog cannot sit in that kennel and think, my owner ran out of money and made the difficult decision to surrender me. They don't understand a signed paper. They understand a broken pattern. They know the waiting has exceeded any timeline their brain has ever recorded, and they respond to that broken pattern with what shelter medicine quietly calls something that should change how you see every dog in every kennel you've ever walked past. Data shows that the dogs who displayed the strongest attachment behaviors at home are the exact same dogs who develop the most severe surrender syndrome in the kennel. The depth of what they loved is precisely proportional to the severity of what they lose. But here is the finding that nobody expected. This behavioral decline, the withdrawal, the shutdown, the learned helplessness, it actually begins weeks before the dog ever reaches the shelter. In the pre-surrender window, as an owner mentally prepares to give a dog up, their behavior changes. Fewer walks, shorter eye contact, reduced physical affection, emotional distance that accumulates gradually as the person prepares themselves for a painful act. And the dog reads those changes, the same way it reads everything about its primary caregiver, chemically, behaviorally, in pattern deviations from a baseline it has been quietly building since the day it arrived. The dog reads the cracks in the load-bearing wall before the house even falls down. So when you see that dog staring relentlessly at the front of its kennel, it isn't being naive. It isn't failing to understand reality. It is running the only program its biology knows how to run. Neural representations do not update quickly. In human grief research, It takes months for the brain to rewire the physical pathways dedicated to a lost loved one, because evolution built attachment systems to be incredibly stubborn. We are designed to hold on, not to let go. The dog at the front of the kennel is doing exactly what its brain was built to do. It is waiting because its caudate nucleus is still wired to one specific chemical signature, the signature of a person who is not coming back. There is a 4-year-old hound mix named Gus at a shelter in Ohio. He surrendered 3 months ago when his owner lost her housing. Gus doesn't watch the door with the frantic panic of week 1 anymore, but every time the far corridor door echoes open, his floppy ears lift, his gray muzzle turns, his eyes search the face of the stranger walking past. He isn't looking for just anyone. He is looking for her. He doesn't know about the housing crisis or the impossible choices she faced. He just knows the wait has lasted longer than any wait ever should. And here is what the science says is happening inside him while he watches. His caudate nucleus, the same structure that lit up for her scent more than any other stimulus in his world, is still carrying her neural architecture. Still primed, still waiting for the signal that was built into it over years of morning walks and evening routines and the specific warmth of one particular person. But here is where the science of attachment offers something nobody expected. When researchers tracked long-term shelter populations, they expected the most bonded dogs to remain permanently broken, dogs like Gus, dogs built for depth. Instead, they found the opposite. Over time, the dogs who possessed the deepest capacity for attachment began redirecting those exact same behaviors towards specific shelter staff, not to volunteers, not to everyone who passed the kennel, to individual people who showed up for them reliably, predictably, warmly. The stubborn neural system that caused them such immense trauma during abandonment is the exact same system that allows them to heal. The capacity for that complete, load-bearing kind of love is not used up by the first heartbreak. It is not even diminished by it. It is simply waiting for someone new to earn the right to fill the silence. Gus is still looking at the door, and if you walk into that shelter, he might look right past you at first. His brain is still running its original program, still searching for a chemical signature it was built around, still doing the most loyal thing a nervous system can do. But if you show up tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, his brain will begin to do what it was also built to do. It will begin to build a new architecture, the same structure, the same depth, the same specific, neural level, load-bearing kind of love, pointed at someone new. Abandonment is a door that never opens, but adoption is proof that an animal's heart doesn't care about signed papers or past endings. It is simply waiting for someone worth pointing it at again. And it turns out, the heart that waited longest, loved hardest, and lost most completely is also the one most capable of doing it again. It just needs you to show up 3 days in a row.